They won't say it directly to your face, but the world has a way of making you feel like you're already finished. If you haven't made it by 30, society quietly stamps you with the label of too late. They call it realism, but in truth, it's condemnation disguised as advice. And the worst part is not that they believe it. It's that over time, you start to believe it too. You watch younger people rise quickly. Some go viral overnight. Others make fortunes while you're still trying to figure out your next step. And somewhere deep inside, even if you don't say it out loud, the question begins to haunt you. Did I miss my moment? Is it already over for me? It echoes every time you scroll Instagram, every time you sit across from someone who asks casually, "So, what are you doing these days?" There's a kind of shame that doesn't scream, it whispers. A voice inside that says, "I should have figured it out by now." But what if that voice is lying? What if you're not late at all? What if the years you thought were wasted were not failure, but forging? What if you were never behind? You were simply being prepared. Because here's the truth no one tells you. The fire that burns hottest takes the longest to ignite. Early success is shiny, but it's often hollow. What takes time to build, what takes years of silence, rejection, and resilience, that becomes permanent. The world worships youth because it's loud. But history is full of reminders that it's the late bloomers who change everything. Quietly, deliberately, permanently. You are not behind. You are becoming. And maybe, just maybe, the delay was never punishment. It was protection. You were not meant to rise when your ego was fragile. You were meant to rise when your roots were deep. The world measures your life in clocks and calendars. But clocks do not measure awareness. Calendars do not measure depth. So if you ever looked in the mirror and felt that burning question, why does it feel like something inside me is still waiting? This, right here, is your answer. Because you are not here to catch up. You are here to arrive. There is a lie so common, so subtle, that most people never notice when they've swallowed it whole. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And it sounds like this: you should have figured it out by now. You're too old to start over. That ship has sailed. You hear it at family dinners when someone leans back and says, "He's still chasing that." You hear it in the silence when job postings emphasize young and energetic. You see it in the media's obsession with 20-year-old billionaires. The message is everywhere. If you haven't succeeded by 30, you are already late. And if you're over 40 and still evolving, still dreaming, still building, the world doesn't see that as strength. It calls it delusion. But stop and think, who taught us this? Who decided that life peaks in youth? Who said that your best ideas, your sharpest insights, your most impactful years must all happen before your brain even fully matures? The truth is, no one did. It's fiction, packaged and sold to us as fact. And because we were young, we believed it. When you're young, you believe speed equals success. You believe hype equals greatness. You think the spotlight must be earned quickly, or it won't be earned at all. So you sprint, not to build something real, but to keep up with everyone else's timeline. That sprint was never success. It was fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being invisible. Fear of being the only one who still hadn't figured it out. But here's the truth. You did not fail. You were misled. The danger was never in moving slowly. The danger was in thinking speed was proof of worth. And that lie didn't start with you. It was programmed into you. Napoleon Hill called it the law of cosmic habit force. The idea that any thought, if repeated long enough, becomes your inner law. It becomes the voice in your head. And so the words, "it's too late," echo not because they are real, but because they have been rehearsed. But youth is not the prize we think it is. Yes, it comes with energy, but it also comes with inexperience, fragile identity, and dependence on praise. Most early success is built on shaky ground, a self-worth tied to applause, a hustle built more on performance than on purpose. And that's why those who rise fast often flame out just as fast. Late bloomers, on the other hand, are tempered by silence. They've already survived invisibility. They know what it feels like to be overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. And when they build, they do not build for attention, they build for depth. At first, the world doesn't notice late bloomers. Their work is quiet, their power subtle. But look closer, and you'll see they carry something rare. They carry pattern recognition, the ability to connect dots others miss, because they've lived long enough to see those dots repeat. They carry resilience, the kind that comes not from never being rejected, but from being rejected and coming back stronger each time. They carry less ego and more clarity. They are no longer building to prove. They are building because they must. And this clarity, this maturity, is not ambition in its raw form. It's refinement. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming your truest self. And here's the secret most people don't know. Individuation rarely happens in your 20s. In your 20s, you are still wearing masks given to you by society. You are still playing roles handed to you by culture. It is only in the second half of life, when those masks begin to crack, that the real self begins to emerge. When youth burns out, awareness ignites. And from that fire, something sacred is born: authenticity. Success without suffering breeds arrogance. Success after struggle breeds humility. One builds entitlement, the other builds endurance. Immature success obsesses over being seen. Earned wisdom obsesses over building something that lasts. And in a world drowning in noise, the person who moves in silence but builds something real, that person becomes unshakable. If you still doubt the power of blooming later, look at the stories we rarely celebrate. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he founded KFC. Before that, he had failed as a businessman, a salesman, even as a gas station operator. By all cultural timelines, his chance was gone. But Sanders refused to see age as an ending. He saw it as refinement. He built not with the energy of youth, but with the vision of someone who had lived, failed, and learned. Today, his face is stamped on one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Or consider Vera Wang. She didn't design her first wedding dress until she was 40. Before that, she had been a competitive skater, then a fashion editor, then a journalist. For decades, she explored lives that weren't hers, until one day she found the one that was. And because she bloomed later, her perspective was deeper, her taste refined, her vision unshakable. Today, her name is synonymous with timeless elegance. These people didn't bloom late. They bloomed when they were ready. And that's the difference. Early blooming is often about speed. Late blooming is about readiness. And readiness is what creates things that last. But here's the catch. Most people never reach that moment, not because they lack talent, but because they are at war with themselves. The enemy is not out there, it's in here. It's the voice inside that whispers, "I'm too old. I missed my chance. It's too late to try again." These voices feel harmless, but they are not. They are weapons. Every phrase you repeat becomes a command, and your subconscious doesn't argue with commands, it obeys. That's why Napoleon Hill warned us about autosuggestion. He said, "Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought." Translation: your mind doesn't care whether the thought is true or false. If you repeat it enough, it becomes law. And most people have been practicing autosuggestion their entire lives, but not with affirmations, with sabotage. They've rehearsed their limitations so often that they've turned them into an identity. I've always been shy. I'm just not good with money. I've never been a risk taker. These are not truths. They are habits. And habits, rehearsed long enough, become prisons. So what's the way out? Rewrite the script. At first, the new words will feel fake. You'll say, "I am ready. I am wise. I am capable." And the voice inside will sneer back, "Yeah, right." But here's the secret. Feeling fake is not proof you're lying. It's proof you're saying something new. Unfamiliarity is not delusion. It's the beginning of transformation. Every powerful identity begins in discomfort. Every new belief begins with resistance. You don't need to fully believe the new script yet. You just need to repeat it long enough for your subconscious to accept it. The old you will not die in one dramatic moment. It will fade slowly, one decision at a time, one new phrase at a time. And eventually, the silence inside you will shift. It won't mock you anymore. It will mirror you. That's when you'll know the battle has turned. Not because the world around you has changed, but because you finally stopped obeying the voice that never believed in you. But even as you reprogram the voice inside, another danger waits outside you, your environment. Because no matter how strong your inner work is, you cannot evolve while standing in the middle of decay. Napoleon Hill put it plainly, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And here's the trap. Most people underestimate the quiet power of their surroundings. Toxic environments rarely look toxic. They don't announce themselves with flashing lights and danger signs. They look like comfort. They look like nostalgia. They look like familiar routines that slowly drain your strength. Think about the conversations you tolerate. At our age, you can't expect much anymore. It's too risky to start something new now. Be realistic, just be grateful for what you have. These aren't just opinions. They're viruses. And your subconscious, always listening, absorbs them drop by drop. Imagine a single drop of water falling on stone. One drop does nothing, but years of repetition, it carves the rock. That's what your environment is doing to your mind. Not violently, not dramatically, quietly, repetition by repetition, carving you into someone smaller than you were meant to be. So the test is not only about what you tell yourself, but what you allow around you. You don't need to cut everyone off or live in isolation, but you do need to become a gatekeeper, not just of your time, but of your energy. Because the voices you allow into your space are the seeds that grow inside you. But here's the part no one talks about. Even if you protect yourself, even if you walk away from old voices, there comes a season that feels like freefall. It's the void. This is the part of transformation almost no one prepares you for. It's not glamorous. It's not inspiring. It doesn't look good on social media. It's the moment when you've let go of who you used to be, but you haven't yet become who you're meant to be. You're caught in between identities. The old roles no longer fit, but the new ones aren't clear yet. No titles, no applause, no recognition, just silence. Most people interpret this silence as failure. They think being undefined means being lost. But that's not true. Being undefined means you're being rewritten. Think of a seed buried underground. From the outside, it looks dead, invisible, forgotten. But beneath the soil, something powerful is happening. Roots are forming. Structure is being built. A new identity is taking shape where no one can see it. That's the void. That's the season of invisibility where transformation is at its most powerful. But it's also the season where most people quit. Because silence feels unbearable. Because invisibility feels like death. But invisibility is not death. It's preparation. And if you can endure it, if you can stay with it long enough, you will emerge not improved, but unrecognizable. History shows us this pattern. The ones who change everything, they first disappear. They are mocked. They are forgotten. They are misunderstood. And then, one day, they return different, clear, untouchable. And so will you, if you can survive the void. The world is moving faster than ever. Content everywhere, opinions from everyone, success measured in followers and trending charts. It's a culture obsessed with speed. But beneath all that noise, something is starving, substance. This is why late bloomers matter now more than ever. Because the world doesn't need more people chasing applause. It needs people building with conviction. Late bloomers don't move for validation. They move for vision. They aren't shaken by discomfort. They've already survived silence. They've already tasted rejection. They've already been overlooked. And because of that, their fire is not frantic, it's steady. Not loud, it's lasting. The fire of a late bloomer doesn't scream. It simmers. It burns hotter, longer, wiser. It builds not for a season, but for a lifetime. In a culture obsessed with going viral, late bloomers quietly build what becomes timeless. And here's the shift. Early success is often about proving yourself. Late blooming is about offering yourself. And when ego no longer runs the show, legacy begins. Because late bloomers don't want to be viral. They want to be remembered. They don't care if they trend. They care if their work still stands when the noise has passed. So remember this. You are not behind. You are not late. You are refined. You are prepared. You are becoming. Every delay, every detour, every season of invisibility has been shaping you, not erasing you. The timeline you were handed was never real. The only timeline that matters is the one you choose to build from this moment forward. Time is not your enemy. Comfort is. Comfort keeps you looping. Comfort keeps you apologizing for not being further along. Comfort keeps you chasing a life built on someone else's rules. But coherence, that's different. Coherence is when the inside finally matches the outside. When you stop rehearsing who you think you should be and start walking as who you truly are. And yes, it will be lonely. Yes, there will be silence. Yes, there will be days when no one notices the work you're doing. But that's how you know it's real. Because true transformation does not begin in the spotlight. It begins in the dark, in the unseen hours, in the moments when you decide not to dabble, not to try, but to rebuild, brick by brick, belief by belief, day by day. And when that work is done, When the fire inside you finally burns through every old script, you will rise. Not to catch up, not to compete, but to redefine the standard. Your return will not be gradual. It will not be polite. It will not be ignored. Your return will be unavoidable. If this message spoke to you, if it reminded you that you are not behind, but becoming, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but for yourself. Because every time you choose content that fuels growth instead of fear, you're choosing to feed the voice inside you that says, I'm not late. I'm right on time.